Hey guys, this is Jam of jamonline.ph, and today we're gonna do a quick review of the Huawei MateBook 16s. So this is their latest and biggest probably premium laptop. It's the 16s from the name itself. We got the 16-inch display. It's beautiful, it's powerful, and I do love the design of this notebook. So first, let's talk about the main specifications that we got this laptop. So first, we got here the 12th generation Intel Core processor. Actually, we got here the Intel Evo sticker over here. It's specifically an Intel Core i7-12700H processor. So basically, it's an H processor, so you know that this one is already powerful. We also got here 1 terabytes of internal storage. That's an SSD, by the way. And then we got here the 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM. So you know that we got here the top-notch CPU and also a pretty good RAM in here. However, the problem is that this one doesn't come with a dedicated GPU. So this one only uses an Intel Iris Xe graphics. We asked Huawei why did they use an Intel Iris Xe graphics instead of, having a 3050 or at least an MX450 with its size. I mean, we got here a lot of space. It's a 16-inch laptop. You got a lot of space for everything. But they mentioned that they need to balance out the battery, the performance, and the Iris Xe performs well depending on what you're doing. But of course, we're going to talk about the performance later. But overall, I think that it could be better if they had a discrete GPU or a dedicated GPU on this one. Yes, the Iris Xe graphics of the MateBook 16s can do a lot of things, but of course, when we're talking about gaming, you probably need more than the Intel Iris Xe graphics. So first, let's talk about the design of the MateBook 16s. As you can see in here, this one comes in space gray. I know space gray comes in a lot of shades. With Apple, we got space gray, but they do have a lot of shades in there. I mean, it's like a 50 shades of space gray, whatever. Anyway, it's a pretty good design. It's very premium. I do like it. When it comes to the ports, we got here 2 USB-C ports, with one of them supports Thunderbolt, with support for Thunderbolt, which basically allows you to use an external GPU on the Huawei MateBook 16s. The other one is an HDMI, and of course, there's the headphone jack. On the other side, we got here 2 USB-A ports. So this ports is actually not enough for me. I mean, if you're a content creator, if you do a lot of things, if you love photography, if you love videography, so if you need to transfer your files from your camera to the Huawei MateBook 16s, you'll need to have a dongle for your SD card. That's a problem for me. I always use an SD card for my camera. So yeah, I don't want to bring a dongle with me. But yeah, we got here a lot of ports, USB-A and USB-C. So as long as you have the dongle, you had everything you need. But if you need your mouse or keyboard, yeah, I mean, you're fine with the USB. As for over here, this one is actually pretty thin at 17.8 millimeters. But of course, it's already expected. I mean, we don't have here a dedicated GPU. We don't have here a discrete GPU on this notebook. As for the charger, we got here the 135 watts charger. I know that is pretty big. Some of you might need to buy a charger if you don't want to use the Huawei charger. But yeah, the 135 watts of charger of this notebook can charge the Huawei MateBook 16s really fast. Now let's talk about what we can expect from this notebook. First of all, the speaker of the Huawei MateBook 16s is just excellent. I've been using it for watching Netflix, for watching movies, YouTube, whatever. And the sound or the quality of the speaker that we're getting in here is really excellent. I love actually watching Netflix on this laptop compared to my other laptops because this one is really loud and it's really immersive compared to other Windows notebooks that I've tried before. I've mentioned the ports. Now let's talk about what we can expect from this one. So we got here the keyboard. Of course, we got here the fingerprint scanner that also acts as the power button of this notebook. And of course, we got here the touchpad or the trackpad, and it's really big. As for the keyboard, as you can see, the layout of this one is just fine with me. I do like the chiclet style. I do like that the font is in the middle. Reminds me of the MacBook actually, which is expected. I mean, we got the MateBooks before, and the design is very similar to MacBooks and similar to this one. We got here actually we don't have here any number pad or numpad on this one, so yeah, you have to rely on the full-size keyboard with no number pads, which is just fine with me. But the D16 actually has a numpad, which puzzles me, but this one actually looks better for me compared to the D16 that has a numpad. But yeah, I'm actually fine with this one. Of course, we got here the grill, but I believe for the speakers, and then the touchpad or the trackpad is actually really great. It's made up of glass, so you know that gliding your fingers on the touchpad of the notebook is just fine with me. And actually, it's spacious enough that sometimes I don't use my mouse as long as I have this big touchpad with me. So yeah, I'm happy with the touchpad and the keyboard of this notebook. Now let's talk about something that I really love about this notebook. Actually, the best feature about this notebook is the display. We got here the 16-inch display. It's a 2.5K display with 300 nits of brightness. It's also a touchscreen display, so if you want, you could use your touchscreen, open applications with your touchscreen. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one. But since this is Windows, but overall, I do like the colors that we're getting here. You could already see from the camera that the colors are great. Yes, this is a camera, and I always say something that, okay, the camera isn't doing the justice for the display. And right now, as you can see, even though my camera isn't the best one in the market, we can still see in here that the Huawei MateBook 16s display is actually pretty great. The bezels on the side is actually pretty thin. It's not the thinnest that we have seen on a notebook, but I'm happy with this one. We also got here the webcam, so thankfully, no more recessed webcam on the Huawei MateBook 16s. I mean, the problem with the recessed webcam or the webcam on the keyboard is that your Zoom calls, your video calls, your Facebook Messenger calls, or whatever video calls that you're doing on the laptop looks really weird because the angle of the webcam is coming from the keyboard going to your face. So that's why it has to focus on your chin, not on your face. For the design, as you can see in here, going back to the design, the lid is just fine. Again, space gray, Huawei logo, big Huawei logo at the lid of the notebook. And below we got here the feet, of course the grill, and of course we got here the feet. So, since we're talking about the grill and the feet, since, we're talking about that one, let's check out the performance of this notebook. So I'm going to give you a rundown of what we can expect from this notebook. So in our PC, in our 3D Mark benchmark test, we got here a TimeSpy score of 1971. In Cinebench R23, we got here a pretty good score for a 12700H processor. Again, this is an H processor, and that is something that some consumers might not appreciate, but having an H processor means that this one is more powerful, has more wattage compared to the U processors of Intel, or the P processors from Intel, because this one has more performance. H means for high performance, so that's something that you should know about this notebook. When it comes to gaming, I've been playing Valorant on this one. The problem is that the display is only 60 Hz. It's not 90 Hz, it's not 120 Hz, so you're stuck with a 60 Hz display in here. And honestly, I would love to have this notebook to have a 90 Hz display, so I can have the balance of gaming and also a balance for, casual and light use for the notebook. But I believe maybe they decided to use a 60 Hz display on this one so that they can conserve more battery on the notebook. Speaking of battery, I got here 6 hours to 7 hours of battery life. It's not that much compared to the MacBooks, but it's pretty good for a Windows notebook, especially with an H processor, specifically the i7-12700H. And yes, playing Valorant on this one was fine. I've also played Horizon Zero Dawn on this one, and yes, it was playable on this notebook. I highly suggest that you tone down the graphic settings and you tone down the resolution of Horizon Zero Dawn or other games whenever you're playing on the Huawei MateBook 16s, since this one only uses an Iris Xe graphics. This is the reason why I wanted to have a more powerful graphics on this notebook because, it lacks the graphical prowess on the MateBook 16s. As for the other things, I've actually tried editing a video on DaVinci Resolve on the Huawei MateBook 16s, and it was just fine. However, the GPU, again, is the main problem here for me. So for content creators, Photoshop would do just fine unless you're creating a really heavy file on the notebook. As for the other video content creators, well, if you're using a video application or a editing application that is relying more on the CPU, that's no problem for me. But if it needs more power from the GPU, then maybe you'll have some problem with the MateBook 16s. It's not really a problem, it works, but it's not as fast as the other notebooks in its price range. So overall, the Huawei MateBook 16s is a really nice notebook. So if you're looking for a notebook, specifically a large notebook that, you know, it is portable, that is premium, that comes with a lot of performance, then maybe you may want to look at this one, the Huawei MateBook 16s. It has a nice display, a touchscreen, nice keyboard, really nice trackpad, and the performance of the CPU is really good. But again, the only problem that I'm having with this notebook is that it lacks a discrete or a dedicated graphics, since the Iris Xe is not enough for me. But of course, for some people who are just using the notebook for office usage, work, or some light and casual games, then this won't be a problem. You'll probably love the Huawei MateBook 16s. And yes, I know a lot of you will ask me, does Google work on this one? Yes, it will work. This is Windows. You can type in google.com. You can install Google applications on the notebook because this one isn't Android. This one is Windows. So I guess that's it for a quick rundown of a quick review rather of the Huawei MateBook 16s. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and of course don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and be sure to click that subscribe button along with that bell button to get notified of our latest videos here in my YouTube channel. So once again, I am JamFJamOnline.ph. Thank you for watching, and see you guys again in my next video.